Jax's revenge domain. The server logs don't lie, and at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, Jordan Walsh's user ID was all over my employment files like a rash. I'm Roger Coleman, 47 years old, and in my 22 years as senior systems engineer at TechFlow Solutions, I've learned that when ambitious VPs start digging through HR databases after midnight, somebody's about to get screwed. What Jordan didn't know was that I had administrative access to those same logs. Call it professional paranoia, but when you've been managing critical infrastructure for 2 decades, you develop habits. Like checking who's been poking around your digital footprint when they think nobody's watching. The timestamp told the whole story. Tuesday, 11:47 p.m. Jordan pulls my personnel file. Wednesday, 11:52 p.m. He's accessing contract databases. Thursday, 12:03 a.m. Employment classification searches. By Friday morning, he was hovering around Lisa Martinez's desk in HR like a vulture circling roadkill, asking innocent questions about legacy staffing optimization. Legacy. That word made my blood pressure spike every time I heard it. In Jordan's MBA vocabulary, legacy meant dead weight, expensive, replaceable. What he couldn't wrap his privileged head around was that some of us legacy employees were actually the load-bearing walls holding this place together. I've been carrying a mortgage on a 4-bedroom colonial in Westfield for 18 years. Sarah and I bought it when Tommy was 3 and Jessica was barely walking. Now Tommy's a junior at Penn State studying mechanical engineering, $28,000 a year in tuition that comes out of my paycheck every semester. Jessica's a senior in high school with her sights set on Boston University. Another $60,000 annually starting next fall. Do the math. My base salary covers the mortgage, utilities, and Sarah's medical bills from her lupus treatments. The equity bonus from my employment contract. That's what pays for college, car repairs, and the dream of actually retiring before I'm 70. Jordan saw those numbers on his spreadsheet and thought he'd found fat to trim. What he'd actually found was a financial house of cards that would collapse the moment my income disappeared. But here's what made his midnight fishing expedition so damn interesting. 3 weeks earlier, I'd gotten a routine email from HR about annual contract renewals. Standard stuff: update your emergency contacts, confirm your direct deposit information, sign the dotted line. Except my renewal never showed up. I'd asked Lisa about it during our monthly safety meeting. She'd looked confused, checked her computer, and said, "That's weird. It shows as processed on my end." Jordan said he'd handle the senior staff renewals personally this quarter. That should have been my first red flag. Jordan Walsh handling anything personally usually meant he was up to something that would benefit Jordan Walsh. I didn't panic. 22 years in corporate America teaches you patience. I had a copy of my original employment agreement locked in my home office filing cabinet, right between my life insurance policy and my father's military discharge papers. Every clause, every amendment, every seemingly insignificant detail that most people never bother to read, including Section 6B. Back in 2016, when TechFlow was scrambling to retain senior technical staff after losing 2 major contracts, they'd offered incentive clauses that seemed generous at the time. Stock options, performance bonuses, retention packages, all the golden handcuffs that keep experienced engineers from jumping ship to competitors. Section 6B was different. It was insurance against exactly what Jordan was planning. In the event that contract renewal documentation is withheld, delayed, or not properly delivered with adequate notification, all outstanding equity instruments and performance-based compensation shall vest immediately and in full. The lawyers had buried it on page 34, probably figuring nobody would ever need it. But I'd read every word, twice, and had my neighbor Steve take a look at it. Steve's a contracts attorney who handles employment law, and his exact words were, "Roger, if they ever try to screw you over, this clause is like having a loaded shotgun in your back pocket." The equity package was worth $4.8 million at current valuation. Not monopoly money or theoretical future earnings. Real equity that would convert to cash the moment Section 6B triggered. And the trigger was simple. Fail to deliver my contract renewal with proper documentation within 14 business days of the cycle's start. We were already on day 8. Jordan had no idea what he was playing with. I could see it in the way he strutted around the office, making pronouncements about right-sizing our human capital allocation and optimizing legacy workforce expenditures. He'd been VP of Operations for exactly 11 months, fresh out of Wharton with an MBA and his daddy's connections, and he thought running a company was like playing a video game where you just eliminate the expensive pieces. The morning after I discovered his midnight snooping, I decided to have a little fun. I walked past his office around 9:30, coffee in hand, and knocked on his door frame. "Got a minute, Jordan?" He looked up from his laptop, where he was probably updating his LinkedIn profile with another management buzzword he'd learned from a podcast. "Sure, Roger. What's up?" "Just wondering about my contract renewal. Lisa mentioned you were handling the senior staff personally this quarter." His smile was as fake as a $3 bill. "Right, yes. Still working through the paperwork. You know how legal gets with these things, crossing every T, dotting every I." I nodded like I believed him. "Of course. Just want to make sure everything's in order. Some of those old contracts have pretty specific language about notification timelines." That got his attention. His head tilted slightly, like a dog hearing a high-pitched sound. "Old contracts?" "From the 2016 retention program. Lots of technical details most people never bother reading." I took a sip of coffee and smiled. "But I'm sure your legal team has it all sorted out." I left him sitting there with that confused expression, probably wondering what technical details I was talking about. The beauty of Section 6B was that it wasn't technically hidden. It was just buried deep enough that lazy executives wouldn't find it unless they were specifically looking for trouble. Over the next few days, Jordan's behavior got more obvious. He started scheduling workforce optimization meetings with department heads. He brought in a consultant from McKinsey to evaluate operational efficiency. He even had the balls to ask our biggest client, North Point Defense, about their flexibility regarding personnel transitions. What Jordan didn't understand about North Point was that they weren't just another client. They were a $12 million annually defense contractor whose systems I'd been personally managing for 8 years. Every protocol, every security clearance, every compliance requirement ran through infrastructure I'd built from scratch. You don't just transition that kind of relationship to some kid fresh out of college. But Jordan was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The holiday dinner was scheduled for Friday night at the Marriott downtown. Nothing fancy. TechFlow wasn't exactly known for splashing cash on employee appreciation. Rubber chicken, overpriced wine, and the obligatory speech from our CEO about family values and teamwork. I almost didn't go. Sarah had been feeling rough all week. Her lupus flares up when the weather changes, and sitting through Jordan's victory lap didn't sound appealing. But something told me this dinner might be important. Call it intuition, or maybe just 22 years of recognizing when the other shoe is about to drop. I showed up to that dinner wearing my lucky tie, the navy blue one with thin silver stripes that Sarah bought me for our 20th wedding anniversary. Figured if this was going to be my last TechFlow social event, I might as well look decent for it. The Marriott's conference room was decorated with the kind of generic holiday cheer that screams corporate budget constraints. Fake garland, battery-powered candles, and a banner that said, "Celebrating our TechFlow family" in Times New Roman font. Real personal touch there. I grabbed a scotch from the bar and found a table near the back. Close enough to hear conversations, but far enough away to avoid getting trapped in small talk about quarterly projections. Lisa Martinez was sitting 2 seats down, picking at a salad that cost TechFlow probably $40 per plate for what looked like iceberg lettuce and cherry tomatoes. Jordan was holding court near the front of the room, gesturing with his wine glass while telling some story about disrupting traditional paradigms to anyone within earshot. The man could turn a conversation about the weather into a TED Talk about meteorological innovation. About halfway through dinner, during that awkward lull between the main course and dessert, Lisa leaned over with that friendly HR smile that usually precedes bad news. "Roger, I've been meaning to ask, did you ever get your contract renewal paperwork?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Around us, conversations continued about kids' soccer games and vacation plans, but I felt like someone had just pulled the pin on a grenade and rolled it under our table. "Funny you should mention that," I said, cutting my steak with more precision than it required. "I'm still waiting for it." Her smile faltered slightly. "That's strange. According to my records, we sent it out last week." Jordan said he'd personally deliver it to all the senior staff. I set my fork down carefully, the way you'd handle nitroglycerin. Well, I guess he must have forgotten to mention why he decided to hang on to it. The silence that followed wasn't the comfortable kind you get during a pleasant dinner conversation. This was the kind of silence that makes people at nearby tables stop talking and start paying attention. Lisa's face went through several expressions: confusion, realization, then something approaching panic. "I'm sorry, what do you mean he hung on to it?" she asked, but her voice had dropped to almost a whisper. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a folded envelope. Clean white paper, my name typed across the front in block letters, sealed with the kind of care you'd use for legal documents. Which technically it was. I mean exactly what I said, Lisa. Jordan intercepted my contract renewal. Probably thought he was being clever. I placed the envelope on the table between our dessert forks. So I won't be needing a renewal anymore. The envelope contained my resignation letter, dated and time-stamped, with enough legal language to make it clear this wasn't an emotional decision. My neighbor Steve had helped me draft it over beer and pretzels the night before, making sure every word was bulletproof. Lisa stared at the envelope like it might explode. "Roger, let's not make any hasty decisions. I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. We can sort this out on Monday." "Monday's too late," I interrupted, keeping my voice conversational but firm. "See, some of those old contract clauses have very specific timelines, miss the deadline, and things get complicated." That's when Jordan noticed something was wrong. He'd been working the room like a politician at a county fair, but the sudden quiet at our table caught his attention. I watched him excuse himself from his conversation and start walking over, that practiced corporate smile plastered across his face. "Everything okay over here?" he asked, sliding into the empty chair across from me. "Looked like you folks were having a serious discussion." "Actually, Jordan, perfect timing." I picked up the envelope and held it out to him. "Lisa was just asking about my contract renewal. The one you personally volunteered to handle." His eyes went to the envelope, then back to my face. For a split second, I saw something flicker behind his confidence. Maybe recognition, maybe fear. Hard to tell with guys like Jordan who've spent their whole lives learning to mask their real thoughts. "I've been meaning to get that to you," he said smoothly. "Just wanted to review some of the language with legal first. Make sure everything was current with our new policies." "How thoughtful," I replied. "Except according to Section 6B of my original agreement, you had exactly 14 business days from cycle start to deliver that renewal. We're now on day 12. The color drained from Jordan's face so fast I thought he might need medical attention. Around us, other conversations had stopped entirely. You could hear ice clinking in glasses, the soft hum of the air conditioning, the distant sound of traffic outside. But nobody at our table was saying a word. Section 6B, he managed to croak. Page 34 of the 2016 retention agreement. The one that automatically vests all outstanding equity if contract renewals aren't properly delivered. I smiled the way a poker player smiles when he's about to lay down a royal flush. Current valuation puts that at about $4.8 million. Lisa's water glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. The sound seemed to break whatever spell had fallen over the table because suddenly everyone was talking at once. Jordan was sputtering something about lawyers and misunderstandings. Lisa was frantically dialing someone on her phone, and Kevin Ross from finance was leaning over from the next table trying to figure out what was happening. I stood up slowly, straightening my lucky tie. "Jordan, I appreciate you taking such personal interest in my career development. Really opened my eyes to how valued I am here at TechFlow." He opened his mouth to say something, probably another corporate non-apology, but I was already walking away. I stopped at the bar long enough to finish my scotch, nodded goodbye to a few colleagues who were staring at me like I'd just grown a second head, and walked out into the December cold. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my car. Text messages, missed calls, voicemails from people who'd heard bits and pieces of what just happened and wanted the full story. I turned the phone off and drove home through the quiet suburban streets, past the houses with their Christmas lights and perfect lawns, thinking about how different everything was going to be come Monday morning. Sarah was asleep when I got home, curled up on the couch with a heating pad on her back and one of her mystery novels open on her chest. I covered her with a blanket and sat down in my recliner, staring out the window at our neighbor's inflatable Santa, wondering if I'd just made the smartest decision of my career or the biggest mistake of my life. Tomorrow would tell. Saturday morning came with 6 missed calls from Lisa Martinez and a voicemail from our CEO that started with Roger. I think there may have been some confusion last night. No confusion on my end, just 22 years of experience finally paying dividends in ways Jordan never saw coming. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table with the morning paper, pretending to read about local politics, while my phone buzzed like an angry wasp every few minutes. Sarah shuffled down in her bathrobe around 9:30, moving carefully because her joints were stiff from the weather change. "Rough night?" she asked, noticing the pile of ignored messages on my phone. "Interesting night," I corrected, pouring her coffee the way she likes it. 2 sugars, splash of cream. "Remember that contract issue I mentioned? Well, it resolved itself." She studied my face over her coffee mug. After 23 years of marriage, Sarah could read my expressions better than a polygraph machine. Resolved how? Let's just say Jordan Walsh is about to learn why you don't mess with people who actually read the fine print. By Monday morning, the fallout was already spreading through TechFlow like wildfire in August. I didn't go into the office. Technically, I didn't work there anymore, but I had friends who kept me updated on the chaos that was unfolding in the conference rooms and corner offices. Ashley Turner from legal had been pulled into an emergency meeting Sunday night. Apparently, once Lisa Martinez realized what Section 6B actually meant, she'd called in the entire legal team to figure out if there was any way to minimize the damage. The answer, according to my buddy Mike in IT who overheard the shouting match, was a resounding no. The clause was ironclad. More importantly, it had witnesses. Half the senior staff had been sitting within earshot when I'd explained the situation to Jordan, and Lisa Martinez herself had confirmed that he'd intercepted my contract renewal. In legal terms, that was what they call a slam dunk. Kevin Ross from finance was apparently having what could charitably be called a meltdown. A $4.8 million unplanned expenditure wasn't exactly petty cash, even for a company TechFlow's size. It represented about 18 months of profit from our second largest client, money that was supposed to fund expansion plans and executive bonuses. But the real crisis was just beginning to dawn on them. See, losing me wasn't like losing a regular employee. I wasn't just some guy who showed up, did his job, and went home. I was the guy who held the keys to systems that couldn't be easily replaced or transferred. Tuesday brought the first domino. North Point Defense called for an emergency status meeting regarding their infrastructure management protocols. The conversation, according to someone who was in the room, went something like this. "We understand Mr. Coleman is no longer with TechFlow. We need assurance that system continuity will be maintained without interruption." Jordan, still trying to salvage the situation, had apparently responded with his usual MBA confidence. "Absolutely. We have comprehensive documentation and backup protocols in place." What he didn't know was that my comprehensive documentation was about as detailed as a grocery list. Not because I was trying to be difficult, but because complex systems engineering isn't something you can hand off like a restaurant recipe. It's institutional knowledge built over years of problem-solving, client relationships, and understanding the subtle ways that different systems interact. North Point wasn't buying it. They demanded a technical briefing within 48 hours, including detailed transition plans and backup procedures. When TechFlow couldn't deliver, North Point invoked the continuity clause in their contract and put all pending projects on hold. $2.3 million in immediate revenue, suspended until further notice. Wednesday brought domino number 2. Coastal Manufacturing, our third largest client, sent a formal inquiry about personnel stability and technical competency assurance. Corporate speak for "prove to us that you still know what you're doing." Thursday was when things got really interesting. I was at Home Depot picking up materials for a bathroom renovation project. Might as well use my unexpected free time productively, when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize, but the voice on the other end was familiar. "Roger, this is Tom Bradley from Apex Systems. We met at the industry conference last spring." I remembered Tom. Solid guy, former Navy engineer who'd built Apex into one of TechFlow's biggest competitors. We'd talked shop over beers about the challenges of managing legacy defense contracts. "Tom, good to hear from you. What can I do for you?" "Well, word travels fast in this business, and I heard you might be available for new opportunities. We've been tracking some of the challenges that TechFlow is having with their client retention lately." I had to smile at that. In corporate America, challenges with client retention was diplomatic language for total clusterfuck. I might be interested in hearing what you have in mind, I said, watching a young couple argue over paint colors near the contractor desk. How about lunch tomorrow? Morton's downtown, 1 p.m. I think we could have a very productive conversation. Friday's lunch meeting was everything I'd hoped for and more. Tom had done his homework. He knew exactly what my departure was costing TechFlow, and he was prepared to offer me something they never had: genuine respect for my experience. Roger, I'll be straight with you. We've been trying to break into the defense contractor space for 3 years, but we couldn't compete with TechFlow's established relationships. Now, with Northpoint and Coastal looking for alternatives, he paused to cut his steak. Well, let's just say the landscape has changed dramatically. The offer was generous. Senior systems architect, 20% equity stake, full autonomy over technical decisions, and a starting salary that was 40% higher than what TechFlow had been paying me. More importantly, it came with something I'd forgotten existed in corporate America: enthusiasm for what I could bring to the table. There's just one thing, Tom said as we finished our coffee. Northpoint's been asking around about you specifically. Seems they're not too happy with TechFlow's transition planning. If you were to join us and if we were to pursue their business, you'd want me to lead the pitch, I finished. Only if you're comfortable with it. I know there might be some awkward dynamics there. Awkward, that was one way to put it. Another way would be poetic justice. I signed the offer letter that afternoon, effective immediately. By 5 p.m., Tom had already scheduled meetings with both Northpoint and Coastal for the following week. The message was clear. Apex Systems had just acquired the one asset TechFlow couldn't replace. That evening, I sat on my back deck with a beer, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and purple. Sarah joined me after finishing her physical therapy exercises, settling into her favorite patio chair with a satisfied sigh. So, she said, how does it feel to be the most wanted man in systems engineering? Pretty damn good, I admitted. Pretty damn good. The following Monday, I walked into Apex Systems wearing a new suit and carrying a briefcase that Sarah had surprised me with over the weekend. If you're going to be a hotshot consultant, she'd said, you might as well look the part. Tom Bradley met me in the lobby with a grin that could have powered half of downtown. Ready to make some waves, Roger? The Northpoint defense meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. in Apex's main conference room. I'd spent the weekend reviewing their account history, system specifications, and compliance requirements. Not because I needed to refresh my memory, but because I wanted to be absolutely certain I could deliver on every promise we were about to make. At 9:55, 3 executives from Northpoint walked through our doors. I recognized the lead immediately: Janet Morrison, their CTO, a no-nonsense former Air Force colonel who'd been my primary contact for the past 8 years. Behind her were 2 younger faces, probably analysts brought in to evaluate our technical capabilities. Roger Coleman, Janet said, extending her hand with a firm grip. Interesting career move. Sometimes the best opportunities come disguised as problems, I replied. Thanks for agreeing to meet with us. The presentation took exactly 47 minutes. I walked them through system architecture diagrams, compliance protocols, and transition timelines that were so detailed you could practically implement them with your eyes closed. Every question they asked, I had an answer. Every concern they raised, I had a solution. But the real moment came when one of the analysts asked about continuity assurance, basically what happens if key personnel become unavailable. That's an excellent question, I said, pulling up a slide I'd prepared specifically for this moment. At my previous position, critical systems knowledge was centralized with individual employees. Here at Apex, we've implemented a distributed knowledge management system where expertise is documented, cross-trained, and maintained at multiple levels. Janet Morrison smiled for the first time during the meeting. Sounds like you learned some hard lessons about institutional risk management. You could say that. The beautiful thing about experience is that it teaches you what not to do the second time around. We had a signed contract by noon, not just for the services TechFlow had been providing, but for an expanded partnership that included 3 additional defense contracts Northpoint had been reluctant to outsource before. Total annual value, $8.7 million. Tom Bradley was practically floating as we walked back to his office. Roger, in 25 years of business development, I've never seen anything like that. They weren't just buying our services, they were buying you specifically. 22 years of relationship building, I said. Jordan Walsh thought that was just overhead. Turns out it's actually the most valuable asset TechFlow had. The coastal manufacturing meeting on Wednesday went even better, if that was possible. By the end of the week, Apex had signed contracts worth $14.2 million in annual revenue, all business that had walked away from TechFlow in the span of 7 days. Meanwhile, according to my sources still inside TechFlow, the situation had gone from bad to catastrophic. Kevin Ross from finance had been working 16-hour days trying to figure out how to absorb the $4.8 million payout while dealing with the loss of major client contracts. The board had called an emergency meeting for Friday afternoon, and rumors were flying about potential layoffs and restructuring. Jordan Walsh, the architect of this disaster, had been noticeably absent from most meetings. Word was that he'd been reassigned to special projects, corporate speak for being exiled to an empty office while the company figured out whether to fire him outright or just let him fade into irrelevance. The check from TechFlow arrived the following Tuesday, delivered by courier in a manila envelope marked confidential, urgent. $4.8 million minus taxes, representing 22 years of accumulated equity that Jordan had tried to steal with a paperwork trick. I deposited it the same day, then drove to Penn State to surprise Tommy. Found him in the engineering lab, bent over a computer terminal, working on some project involving fluid dynamics and stress calculations. "Hey, Dad," he said, looking up with Sarah's eyes and my stubborn chin. "What brings you to campus?" "Good news and better news," I told him. "Which do you want first?" "Hit me with the good news. Your old man just landed a new job with a 40% raise and equity stake in a growing company." Tommy's face lit up. "That's awesome! What's the better news?" "You and your sister don't have to worry about college loans anymore. The tuition's covered all 4 years, both of you." He stared at me for a long moment, then actually teared up. "Dad, are you serious?" "Dead serious. Your mom and I have been carrying that financial stress for years, and now it's gone. You can focus on becoming the best engineer you can be instead of worrying about debt." The drive home gave me time to think about everything that had happened. 6 months ago, I'd been Roger Coleman, senior systems engineer, quietly doing my job and hoping to make it to retirement without getting downsized. Today, I was Roger Coleman, senior architect at Apex Systems, with more money in the bank than I'd ever dreamed of and the respect of an industry that valued experience over flash. Jordan Walsh had seen a 47-year-old engineer and thought he'd found dead weight to cut. What he'd actually found was a loaded gun pointed directly at his own career. The beauty of Section 6B wasn't just the money. It was the lesson. Sometimes the quiet guy in the corner isn't weak or obsolete. Sometimes he's just patient. That evening, Sarah and I sat on our back deck again, watching the sunset and planning our future. No more financial anxiety about medical bills or college tuition. No more worrying about whether my job would survive the next restructuring. Just the comfortable satisfaction of knowing that 22 years of hard work and careful planning had finally paid off in ways that couldn't be downsized or optimized away. "So," Sarah said, raising her wine glass in a toast, "here's to reading the fine print and keeping receipts." "Here's to Jordan Walsh," I replied, clinking my glass against hers, for being exactly as smart as he thought I was stupid. We laughed until our sides hurt, two middle-aged survivors of corporate America who'd just learned that sometimes patience and preparation are more powerful than youth and ambition. Jordan had played checkers while I'd been playing chess, and the game was finally over. I won. In corporate America, they teach you that loyalty flows upward, but respect flows both ways. And when someone mistakes your quiet professionalism for weakness, they're about to learn the difference between being overlooked and being underestimated. The most dangerous employee isn't the one who screams when they're wronged. It's the one who reads every contract, keeps every receipt, and waits patiently for the other side to make their move first.